who covers Husker sports, boys and girls, like football and basketball, even weightlifting, like front squats and curls. Then one day, good old Bruntz called a talk show, and acting on what they thought was a hunch, John and Josh wanted to start a family. And now we get to talk to Michael Bruntz. It's Michael Bruntz. Michael Bruntz. Now we get to talk to Michael Bruntz.
Yes, and we're live on the video board on Stibbs TV on YouTube.com. Bruntz was probably wondering what the hell we were going on and on about because we were. Josh found the game in question, but it was the wrong broadcast. It was the Phillies broadcast with the late Harry Callis, not with Harry Carey.
Wrong Harry.
I need to find this game to find out, did Harry Carey scream, "Ah, Christ," when Dave Holmes hit the home run in the 11th inning? Now, I remembered the home run.
You did. You got it right.
I remember that distinctly. So the home run was right. How he hit it was right. But how Harry called it, that's what I need to find out.
Indeed.
See, this is what we're stuck with now, Bruntz. We got no damn.
That might be the closest you get to real baseball this year, John, I think.
Man, I would huff the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum sewers for days on end if I could have baseball.
Ugh.
You just got to get it down to the point where it matches up with what the owners want, right? That's what the delay is. Isn't that what we're thinking?
Well, yeah, and I truly think, my theory that I threw out yesterday, that the owners actually don't want to play because they know they're going to lose money.
Some of them have said that.
And that this has all been a charade as far as negotiating, because basically this has all been just a big. But if that was the case, then hide behind the COVID, right? Just say it's too dangerous, we can't do it. And you would have enough political cover that you might be able to get away with it. But I don't know.
What do you think happens, Bruntz? Do you think that they still are going to get it in? Because I still think that we will have a baseball season.
I think you'll have baseball. I think it's going to be a pretty shortened season. What are they saying? Like 50 games or something is the with the potentially they want the playoff money, I think, but I don't know. I mean, that's I think the best option at this point. If you don't, I think that there is more comfort on the side of the owners to just not play, which is stupid to me, because if you look at, fan surveys and stuff like that, it seems like baseball was kind of trending in the right direction. I thought that, for a while they kind of did things right with the way that they were sharing the streaming packages and stuff like that. I think are the best in baseball. Versus other sports, and it just seems like baseball is completely willing to just blow off its feet whenever it gets the opportunity to do so. And I hope they get 50 games or whatever it was that they were, the owners were maybe kind of puffing their chests out for. But it's dumb. I mean, they should be in spring training now. They should be getting ready for the season, and I think the fans are right to be really pissed off. I know I am.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. On to happier things.
What's happy in the world right now, John?
Well, I mean, Scott Frost did on his Zoom call today.
He got to see a lot of Husker media members' family rooms and kitchens. That was kind of fun today.
Yeah, Parker got complimented for a wall hanging he had. From Scott Frost.
Look at that, a fellow millennial. Good on you, Parker.
But. Yeah, we did. We got to see some of the old media guys for the first time in a while. I don't know how you came away after seeing it, Bruntz, but I think at this point that Nebraska fans should be fairly comfortable with how Frost has handled everything so far. I mean, there's been no controversies. We're obviously going through a very turbulent time right now. It just seems like he has a pretty good and level-headed grasp on both the virus side of things by deferring to experts when it comes to certain subjects, and on the racial side of things with, we haven't had any, people come out and say, hey, I've been treated poorly. Frost has been very adamant that that's just not the way their program operates. I don't know. I've come away more and more impressed with how Frost has handled this over the last few months, and today was no exception.
Yeah, I think I think to start with the COVID stuff, I think that they have done a pretty good job of really leaning heavily on the experts that they have in the state. I mean, UNMC is very involved with what is going on in the Big Ten, and I think Nebraska has been pretty smart about the way they've gone about things. I mean, even a couple months ago when they were doing like the drive-through food stuff with a lot of the student athletes, I thought that was pretty progressive in terms of just having a problem and finding a solution and making it work. And I think that's a credit to not only Scott Frost and the football staff, but also the people in that athletic department to kind of have to adjust on the fly to take care of 650 athletes. So definitely give them credit for that. I think they'll continue to be pretty level-headed about it. I think that that's certainly laudable. And I think the other thing that was kind of smart on Scott's part too is you kind of stayed out of the fray a little bit. When you had a lot of coaches kind of coming out and just kind of throwing stuff at the wall about what they thought should happen or what would happen, and kind of generating headlines that way. And I think he did a pretty good job of kind of letting guys like Bill Moose speak for themselves, and also just kind of waiting to see what happens, because that was the thing, is just it's so new for everybody, and I think he did a good job of that. With the other stuff that other programs have kind of run into, I think that's where you figure out truly if what the culture that you've built is a legit one and a strong one, and can have conversations about those things if you need to or whatever. But he had said that they really haven't even met as a team. They can't do that yet because of the limitations on numbers and things like that. But it sounds like that they're approaching that issue the right way as well. And I think you have to be impressed by that, especially from a head coach that's still pretty early in his head coaching career, because I think that's sometimes something that can kind of trip up coaches like that.
Bruntz, along the lines of what you just said about culture, do you think that this season, maybe more than any of the first few for Scott Frost in Nebraska, could give like the best answer on how much things have changed, hopefully from a positive perspective? Because for a variety of reasons, it doesn't seem like the culture has been super great in years 1 and 2. And you figure, I don't know, like should we take too much maybe away from this season, given all of the weirdness of the offseason?
Well, I think it's the weirdness of the season and certainly the off season and whatever is going to happen in the fall, because I continue to think it's going to be weird. But I think that it's going to test a lot of programs in different ways. I think the one thing that probably helps Nebraska in year 3 is with the way the roster is right now, so many of these players are Scott Frost players. They've recruited so many of these guys. They've brought them into the program. Some of them have been around 3 years now with kind of how the staff wants to do things. So I think that kind of helps you. I think you'll get a better idea of kind of where this program is at in terms of making that next step. But it's going to be a challenging season. I mean, even if you do play a full 12 games and there's no interruptions, but how you kind of bring guys back, bring guys into the fold. I mean, even responsibility for guys if kind of staying safe when they're away from the facilities and stuff like that. That's all part of that. And we're going to get I think a good idea of kind of where Nebraska's at based on a lot of those factors.
Talking with Michael Bruntz of Husker 24/7, is there an under the radar X factor type player that you can identify for the upcoming season that you're just kind of watching, saying, man, if this guy can develop, especially considering XYZ, that Nebraska could be in pretty good shape?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if necessarily under the radar. I mean, if you get a guy like Omar Manning to show up and have a heck of a first year, I think that helps you a ton. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's how he's used and how he kind of develops, I think is going to be a key storyline as well, because I think if he's finally used in a way that maybe fits his skills a little bit better than what he was last year, just based on necessity, I think, Nebraska's offense can be pretty darn explosive. Defensively, I don't know. I don't know that there's necessarily one guy that I'd point to that you could say, how this guy does will completely determine the season or a more positive direction. I think you're going to need a number of guys on that side of the ball to really step up. But, I think, probably, the biggest one for me is you got to find difference makers at wide receiver, somebody that can stretch the field, somebody that keeps opposing defensive coordinators up at night, because you really didn't have a lot of that last year. J.D. Spielman was very good, but you needed a little bit more down the field last season that they didn't have. So to me, I just think somebody from in that wide receiver group is going to have to emerge and give them maybe something that you weren't expecting.
Bruntz, offshoot of that, I have noticed something really interesting in the discussion surrounding Xavier Betts, and that is like kind of a lack of expectation for him as a true freshman this year. And I think you can obviously find reasons why. We wondered if he would end up on campus for that first year, everything else that has happened in the world since then. But I mean, this is one of the highest rated prospects that Nebraska has had, certainly in my lifetime, from a, star perspective, from, his athleticism. And yet there doesn't seem to be this whole, like, he's going to have a huge breakout freshman year. Has it surprised you at all, just knowing how usually we end up talking about players who come in with the bona fides like him?
I think I've kind of wondered about that too a little bit. I wonder, if the fact that he's a local kid, if that, maybe affects that conversation a little bit. I think when you look at what he brings from a physicality standpoint, I mean, he checks the boxes there. He was certainly productive at Bellevue West, so that's another box that's checked there. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of him being overshadowed a bit by Omar Manning, which I guess I did in my last answer a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's probably a combination of factors, but I agree with you a little bit. I mean, it's kind of like you got like Omar Manning and then the field for the wide receiver groups right now, and Xavier Betts is right in there. But when you look at what he does, what he has size-wise, all that stuff, I mean, he fits the profile of somebody that should be able to come in and contribute right away in a pretty substantial way, I think.
Bruntz, was there any point in the last 3 months that you would have imagined the possibility of a full Memorial Stadium on September 5th?
No, and I'm still a little skeptical of it too. Mm-hmm. Even sitting here now, I don't know. I mean, I saw what's been put out in terms of what the next progression is. I'm curious to see what kind of weight the Big Ten or NCAA has in that decision. And I know that obviously Nebraska seems like it's trending that way, but I don't know. I mean, are schools that come into play in Nebraska, are they also going to voice some concern about that? I don't know, but I'm still a little skeptical of seeing a full Memorial Stadium. I still think that we're a little bit away from that.
Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Bruntz, we always appreciate it. Gets us a chance to be back on the video screen. It's nice to have people in the media who are compliant and cooperative with our video.
Oh yeah.
Unlike others who might be too old to know how to operate the video.
What is a link? How do I click at the link?
You could probably take a guess as to who we're referring to.
I've got a few suspects in mind, but I'll just sit here and not say anything.
It's a smart thing.
Good idea, Bruntz.
Good, smart thing. All right, Bruntz, take care. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
There he is, Michael Bruntz of Husker 24/7.
Thank you, Bruntz.
All right, we're going to come back. We've got more. We can talk a little bit about the possibility. We did get some clarification what the governor was talking about. We had that conversation with Jack Mitchell yesterday. Yes, he was the guy we were referring to as too old to be on video.
Also, I heard from a Cubs source of mine that says he might be able to find the thing we're looking for.
Yes.
Now, we're not going to have that today.
No, but
yeah, anyway.
It's got to be out there. They kept all the games.
Yeah, I'm scared. Yeah.
I want to hear this.
I want to hear it, man.
I want to hear if I'm remembering this right. If I'm remembering what I saw right.
And heard.
and
no matter, don't forget, no matter what you were listening to, even back then,
even though I was watching the Big
Zone.
Show on ESPN on my television, I was listening to the radio.
1620 The Zone.